It's 12:15 and 10 seconds, so we're 10 seconds late. So today is day 10 of the reviews, and it's a mixed review day. I'm not teaching anything new. We're just going back over a bunch of the skills that we've already been picking up. And if you notice, every day we seem to spiral back, which is how they like to do this. I think it's a little helter-skelter, but I think we can do it. For warm-up, there is a tip on the last page, and if you stay with me for the next 10 minutes, you'll see it makes a big difference in doing the problems. And the exit ticket is also on the back page, and I'll talk to you about what I want you to do on those. So you have another common assessment in Mastery Connect. This one is 15 questions, and every question is a point, so you can get up to 15 points. Now remember, the exit ticket and warm-up together both make 5. So this is like 3 exit ticket and warm-ups. So it's really in your best interest to do your best on this common assessment. All work for the week that I give it is due that Sunday night at midnight. And many of you guys are missing your deadlines. I'm not talking to you specifically, Darius, but all work is due Sunday at midnight. I don't want to hear arguments about it. I know that the last assignment, I gave an extra day on the quizzes, and I'm sorry I did that because everybody assumed they could take their time on the warm-up and exit ticket as well. But from now on, all work is due Sunday at midnight, and it is at my discretion whether I want to give partial credit for those of you not making the deadline. It appears you wait till there's a 0 in the grade book before you realize you have to turn things in. And then this note is important to me. Due to the overwhelming number of students who are submitting late, and that's more than half of a class, and that causes me 10 times more work to grade it when you submit it individually and late versus when you submit it all at the right time, I can't continue to extend these deadlines. So those of you who think, well, I didn't know we were working, and now you suddenly want to throw everything at me at once, that's not on me, that's on you. So I'm asking you all to meet your current deadlines before you go back to anything you've missed. So a lot of you tell me, can I go back? I'm going to say yes, as long as you're current with the current weeks. Do not attempt to throw all the other days at me and then once again submit late for the next week because you were working on the previous ones. Also, I've closed days 1 through 4. Remember I told you days 1 and 2, if you didn't do them, that won't count against you because they were not part of the alternative learning plan. Days 3 and 4 were, but you can no longer submit those if you have zeros on those. I'm closing them. They're done. I can't go so far back. We're on day 10, and I can't keep 10 days open for assignments to keep checking for you guys. Some of you haven't done any, and I know you're going to want to do at the very last minute all 10 days worth and hope I have the time at night to go through all of your work. I don't. I barely have time to keep up with the current week's work. Okay, so days 1 through 4 are no longer open for grading. Darius, you're good though, but do you have any questions on this? I'm not specifically talking to you about any of this.
No.
Okay, good.
Not having.
Good. All right, this is the first 2 questions of the Mastery Connect test. So I just want to show you what it looks like. So you have this simplify the following, and I showed you guys how to put this in Desmos, and then one at a time put these 4 in until one of these lies directly on top of this graph. So I am giving you permission for the Mastery Connect test only to use Desmos, and it can answer a majority of the questions. I don't need you to submit work for the Desmos. Some of you are doing that, and while I appreciate how much work you're putting into it, I'm not checking Desmos work. I'm merely checking the grade you get. So use this for the Mastery Connect test. Use Desmos if you want to, and it will ensure you get this right, okay? Now, this one you can't really use Desmos because what they're saying is which one can be simplified. So remember the rules on simplifying is if you're adding radicals, you have to have the same index and same radicand. And I'm going to write here, need same index, same radicand. So if you're looking for something that is simplifiable to one term, you need to see that they have the same index and radicand. But the key to all that is you might be able to simplify it. So even though 20x and 5x are a different radicand, if you can simplify 20x using a factor tree and get it to a 5x, then you can combine it. So you actually have to look at these one at a time and see which ones you can make into one simplified term. Remember, there will be more than one correct. So if you only get one correct and there's another, you will miss this question. You don't get partial credit. All right, so that was just the first 2 on the Mastery Connect. I just wanted to go over a couple of things you can and can't do. There is one question in the Mastery Connect that has to do with properties. So please review these properties before you open up the Mastery Connect test. I just wanted to throw these up here so that you could look at them all. It's an easy question. You shouldn't miss it, and especially if I'm helping you remember what our properties were. And then there's one that has to do with the additive inverse or conjugate. So remember, for a number that's a complex number like 3 minus 9i, to get the additive inverse, you change both signs. Change the positive to a negative 3 and change the negative 9i to a positive 9i. And that means if I added this number 3 minus 9i to this number negative 3 plus 9i, I would get 0. That's what an additive inverse does. A conjugate only changes the imaginary or square root sign. So notice I kept the 3 the same, but I changed the imaginary from a negative to a positive. I kept the 10 the same, but I changed the square root from a negative to a positive. So when you're doing conjugates or additive inverses, remember what those mean. And the whole point to a conjugate is if you multiply a number by its conjugate, you wipe out the imaginary or the square root part of it so you can work with it. So that's why we have additive inverses or conjugates. All right, this is it. This is the last slide. So the warm-up is 2 questions. People who did not stay for the rest of the video are going to miss that you need to change the second equation in number 1 to a +1. It says -1 on the actual work, and I couldn't change it because it was a PDF file. Please change this to a y equals negative 2x plus 1. It will be so much easier to solve, I promise you. For this one, number 2, you have to solve each of these radical equations. I am not going to accept. I just plugged in 3 to see if it solved them, okay? Because I'm not asking you to back solve. I'm asking you to show me you can solve these 3 radical equations. Number 1 on the exit ticket, notice that there's 2 of these answers that they're exact same, okay? So yes, there are 2 correct answers here, and you need to show me the absolute value work. Do not tell me you put it in Desmos. People are going to do that, and they're not going to get to submit twice. I'm going to give them a 0 for that if they tell me they did it in Desmos. I'm asking you to solve one absolute value equation to prove that this is the right answer. And then number 2, remember when we do the quadratic equation, if it's imaginary, you get 2 numbers, and one is the conjugate of the other. So if you got 2 plus 6i, you would also get 2 minus 6i. So when they say which is also a solution, you're looking for a conjugate, okay? There's almost no work to this one, so if all you do is tell me the answer, I will accept that. You won't have to show me anything, okay?
Okay.
I'm done, Darius. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, good. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you next week.
All right, see you.
All right, bye.